Yeah, well, thanks. I want to welcome everyone to, I think we've been doing this over a year now, very successful, the monthly roundtable. Before we get started, I'd really like to know where everyone is from. We get a lot of registrations. You guys log in. We really don't get a sense of where you are. If you could please go ahead and either scan the QR code here or log in at menti.com. Yeah, don't drop it in the chat. Go into menti.com and use that code, or go ahead and scan that QR code with your phone. If you're in the US or Canada, tell us what state you're in. If you're from outside the US or Canada, let us know what country you're in. Oh, Alabama. Okay, cool. So far, all the US. Eldon, good to see you. I know you're in Canada. Vancouver. All right. So far, nobody from outside the US or Canada. But let's give you a few minutes. And then after this, I'm going to be turning it over to Alistair Meffin, who's going to introduce our format. Alistair, do you have the slides, or do I need to share them?
Hold on, give me 1 second. I've got.
All right, so we've got just one participant from outside the US, South Africa. Awesome, awesome. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead. I've got the slides.
I'll go ahead. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead and share out for you if you want to go ahead and get started.
Great.
All right.
So thanks, everybody. Good morning for those of you in the Western Hemisphere, and good afternoon for those who are in the Eastern. Pleased to have you join us. I'm Alistair Meffin, the Vice President of Customer Success at Florence Healthcare. And we run our monthly roundtable with a very specific format that we like to run through. We start off with a 15-minute lightning round where our presenter will teach us about a very specific topic. We like to make sure that it is something that is applicable, that you'll be able to take it right into your job once you leave. Once we do that, we send you off with a very specific question and action where you'll be sent off into small rooms, 3 to 4 folks, and you'll apply what you've learned in that session. We'll bring you back. We'll do some voting on how people think about the different ideas that came out during those room discussions. And then the host, the presenter, and I will facilitate a group discussion around what came out of that voting. So I'm very excited to have our presenter today joining us all the way from Madrid, Spain. She has spent the last 9 years at Hewlett-Packard. And Susana Esteban, welcome, and happy to have you on this morning.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Lester. Thank you, Tom. I'm gonna share my desktop. Let's see if it works. You see? Can you see it?
Nope.
Not yet.
Oh.
Got it.
There we go.
Okay.
You're good
great.
now.
Great. We're good to go. Great. Well, let me start by expressing how happy I am to be here today. It's always a pleasure to have the opportunity to talk to colleagues and CX practitioners, as we all are, and especially with the topic today, emotions and how this assessment and management of emotions can support our profession and ourselves in maximizing growth. So let me start by also acknowledging my own emotions here and now. Let me tell you how, first, as I said, happy I am Second, how grateful and thankful I am for all what Tom and the University of Michigan are doing for our profession with all these roundtables, with the conferences, with the master, now with the book. Is really, I think you are elevating the profession to a different level. So thank you very much. And I also feel hopeful that what we are going to be co-creating today with this very interactive and practical session can ignite the passion of our profession, and especially the practicality of how we connect experience with business growth in a much more practical manner. So with that, I always like to open this kind of reflections with this question about, okay, how many times, and I'm sure there have been many, have you ever been asked to prove a positive correlation between customer experience and business growth? And for those of you that were part of the CX 360 forum that we have 2 months ago, we ran this survey through the audience, which was made in this session of 133 participants coming from 28 different countries, and we got a very bold yes. 83% of the audience says, yes, this is a question I have been faced with. So in the end, when you're able to prove these results in a tangible manner, of course, the perception of our organization, our jobs, drastically changed. Our sponsorship become much more robust, and it's not anymore about how many improvement actions you put together. It is about how we are contributing to the bottom line of the business growth. So I was just discussing with Tom and Alastair just a couple of minutes ago that in order to drive this correlation and coming back to the emotions part of the talk today, we need to think about what is experience. And I like to cite here Pine and Gilmar in the Experience Economy book that they wrote at the beginning of the century. And they're very clear that experience is about events that engage us in a personal level and have a lasting impact in our memory. So if we think about engaging us in a personal level and having a lasting impact in our memory, I'm sure we can think about the occasions in our life when this has happened. Our graduation, writing a book, our first date, our first child, our first job. I'm sure if you think about these moments of our life, you can feel the emotion. There is no way you cannot feel emotion thinking about these events. And it's the same with the purchasing events. The purchasing experience in the end is also driven by emotions. Emotions that we always justify with facts, with rational, with the head. But many times, and most of the times, is the heart, the one that is driving us to make one decision or the other. There is a lot of talk these days about the behavioral economics driving these psychology's effects that in the end are behind the final purchasing decision. And here I like to talk about very briefly about the personal story of my own. When I was looking for my first house, I'm very sentimental, but also very rational and very perfectionist. So for me, there was no way to find my ideal house. I was looking around for years. And suddenly, in what from a rational perspective will not be the right moment, the right place, the right financial situation, because I was going through a breakup of my relationship. I was in a new job, so my financial stability was not good. I am a very social person, and I was in this little town up in the mountains, far from downtown Madrid. But I saw this piece of land with a sign that said, "We'll have character homes being built here." There was not even a home there, a house, nothing. It was just a river, a mountain, a fresh air I could breathe, a happiness environment, relaxing, peaceful one around me. And guess what? This was a Saturday. I went there and I just did my first payment for the house. And on Sunday, I had to process all these decision-making factors that were driving me to make this the acquisition of my first house. And I found all this rationale to be shared with families and friends. But it was really the emotion that I was feeling in that morning in that little town that was driving me to buy my first house that I still own after all these many years. So I'm sure you can also relate to this type of situations, and that's why we consider the emotional assessment and management as a key factor of our experience management in Hewlett Packard Enterprise. So in the governance model of the experience management in the company, we have 4 key pillars that we use. And today, I'm going to be focusing on the customer lifecycle and how the emotions play in this framework. There are 3 key factors that we use. First is understanding that the lifecycle experience is going to be designed and assessed through the concept of infinite loop. I'll go there in a minute. Understanding what are the moments of truth in the journey, of course, and then the emotions that we are delivering on. Infinite loop, why, and what is this and why? Well, in the end, being a technology company and being in the digital era, we realized that using vertical and sequential funnels to really understand how to manage the demands pipeline were not the right way to go. We had to move into horizontal lifecycle frameworks with simultaneous interactions between the different phases, because it's the same customer that today is buying our solution, the one that is considering how to expand the one that they bought 2 years ago, and the one that is considering how they can put hybrid solutions in place for going into the cloud environment. So we need to be conscious of the need to manage simultaneously all different phases and different experiences to be able to be effective in delivering on this business growth that I was talking about. This is inspired in a book that was published 3 years ago by Jeff Pedowitz, and that we were using for this purpose. So once we have decided that for this experience, this customer experience in our technology environment, we will use this model, then, as I said, we had to reflect on, okay, how do we place the emotions and the moments of truth around these 6 different phases? And here I like to also quote another couple of authors. The first one is Robert Plutchik. You might have heard about the emotions wheel, and he's the father of the emotions wheel. And he also is very clear on what emotions are. He said, emotions are the glue that connects people to each other. Very simple way to define emotions, but when we think that companies are made of people, we better understand what that glue is all about. And then the moments of truth, here I'm taking Jim and Nicole quote from their book, How Hard Is to Be Your Customer. We were working with the heart of the customer in putting together the customer journey and reflecting on the importance of really putting the focus in the moments of truth was really differential for us to prioritize our efforts of improvement. So with these 3 concepts, the infinite loop, the emotions of the moments of truth, we put together our customer journey here, focusing on the 2 key customer personas that will drive the loyalty and advocacy behaviors. In our case, the CIO and the operations manager. And we were going phase by phase, as you will do in any other customer journey, to understand what were the emotions that we were producing at the time. And as you can see, of course, we were having a mixture of emotions, positive emotions, joyful, confident, proud, with emotions that were below the neutral line, worried, concerned, disillusion, and that we had to further understand and address. As I said, there are many things that you can do, and you always have limitation of resources. So it's good to focus in those emotions driving the moments of truth. In our case, those moments were the purchasing phase and the optimization and expand and renewal phase. How did we know about all these? How did we learn about emotions and about moments of truth? Because we were interviewing our most strategic customers at these two persona levels, and that's why we came up with this framework. And once this was clear, the third question was, okay, what are the drivers behind these emotions? What is going on? Why the customer feel like they are feeling today? So in summary, we have our life cycle experience put together. We understood what the moments of truth were. We determined where were the emotions in those moments of truth to be prioritized for putting our act together. And even more important, which were the emotion drivers behind the feeling. And the emotion drivers, especially when we focus here in the optimize and expand renew phase as a moment of truth, were very clear. Customers were worried because they were not very confident on the capability of the solution to achieve the expected business outcomes that they have. And customers were disillusioned because they were not maximizing the utilization of the solution they have bought from us. So now what? Now we have assessed the situation, we have understood the emotions and the drivers. What did we do with this? We took action, because as we always like to say, we better don't ask if we're not gonna act. So we act on the listening and the learnings from the voice of our customers. In the first case, deliver on expected business outcomes, we decided to assess which were the business outcomes that they were expecting from us, our customers were expecting from us, and we use this framework from the TSIA, basically stating that the expected outcomes can be grouped in 4 major buckets. Either we help our customers in maximizing their operational performance, optimizing their cost, making them grow in their own revenue by either acquiring customers or retaining the ones that they already have, and accelerating their sustainability footprint through either energy power consumption reduction, carbon emissions reductions, or circular economy support. Out of all these, we wanted to understand which were the most important ones. And in this case, there were the 2 first ones that in this customer persona that were the influencers or decision makers for this loyalty and advocacy were the key ones. Maximize operational performance and optimize cost. So once this was determined and assessed, we started focusing on taking action. More than 250 actions have been put together in the last year addressing these 2 first expected outcomes to make sure that the emotions that were below the neutral line were recovered up of it. And the second one was maximizing product and service utilization. And you can think about our own experience as consumer. If you buy a phone and you don't utilize all the functionalities that the phone offers, same with car or any other product or service, of course, your level of satisfaction is not going to be the same. Your experience is going to be very different. So this emotional value, and by the way, more and more you might have heard that there are a new index around talking about emotional customer emotional value, which is predicting behavioral purchasing behaviors in a much better manner than NPS or customer satisfaction itself. So anyhow, we had to maximize the utilization of the solution that was bought from us to improve the experience and to improve the positive emotion, the positive connection to our brand. And what you see here is this green bar basically showing that in the customers where we were taking action to do so, this is the closed loop concept, basically taking action, the trending on using the solution was clearly reversed to positive, and the improvement in the solution, in the usage of the solution was also improved by 88.7% through 80 actions that we put together. So all in all, by attacking the emotion drivers, what we were able to do, coming back to the initial question in the session of connection with business growth, yes, we took more than 250 actions, but so what? So what is that these actions have been translated in 90 opportunities for business growth that with the help of the account teams, we've been able to quantify in more than 30% of the current billing value for those accounts. These are tangible benefits of what our profession can bring to the table. And this totally changed the perception of our trusted advisor capabilities and the perception of sometimes just being a cost center to being really a business growth enabler. So in terms of just practical advice on how this can be that 30, 60, 90 plan, again, as a summary of the session, lay out your life cycle experience using the framework that basically adapt the most to your business. Understand the customer emotions throughout the life cycle and especially in the moments of truth, and make sure you address the emotional gaps by understanding the drivers and by taking action on those. So before jumping into the breakout rooms, I want to close with something that you might have heard also these days with this Inside Out movie that is in the cinemas since June. And I love the Joy character when she said, did you ever look at someone and wonder what is actually going on inside their head? I mean, beside the data, the slides, the executive pitch, what do they have in their head? And I should add in their heart, because this is in the end what is going to drive the purchasing behavior. So with that, I think we are on time to go and move in the breakout rooms and have this reflection being done together.
So Susana, I'm going to share the board if you want to explain to people a little bit what you're looking for them to do here, and then I'll put them in breakouts. So let me zoom in. You've got three categories here.
Great.
Could you explain a little bit about, so we're going to be putting you guys in teams of 4. It looks like we'll have 8 teams. So Susana, what would you like them to do?
Exactly. Thank you, Tom. So you have on the top, what you have is basically the summary of what I was explaining. So if we can zoom in a bit more, just a bit more. Yeah, thank you, Tom. So basically, on the right, what you have is the emotions wheel. So basically the emotions, the combination of 6 emotions that can generate many other. The idea here would be that you reflect on all those emotions in the wheel, and then you take the moment of truth. See on the table, you have 4 columns. Moment of truth on the left is the moment of truth you will have to be reflecting upon. In this case, team 6 will be reflecting about contract renewal experience. The idea, the exercise will be about what are the 3 questions to be answered during the breakout room. What are the emotions that we want to enable during the contract renewal phase in your respective business? Once we understand the emotions that we want to enable, let's say a couple of emotions, what will be the emotions drivers? Of course, we're talking overall about positive emotions that we want to enable. What will be the emotion drivers that are gonna invoke that feeling? And last but not least, what are the actions that you think need to be taken to address those drivers in the required manner to enable the positive emotion?
Okay, great. Thanks for that, Susanna. So folks, I'm going to be assigning you randomly to teams of 3 to 4 people. Please note the number of your group, and then you want to find that number that find the table that has that team number on it. All right. Everyone should have access to the mural link in the chat. If you want to go ahead and grab that before you dive into the breakout, I'm going to stop sharing now. I'm going to create 8 groups automatically. And you guys have 15 minutes. Have some fun. There you go. Yeah, you sound like one of my undergraduate students. All right. All right, let me go ahead and share the mural board here and with your results, and we'll be able to focus in on those.
Yeah. So in the interest of time, we're going to skip over the voting and just go straight into discussion. So would love sort of the initial, just some initial reactions from folks on the exercise, and really, Tom and I were talking about while you all were in there that, you know, emotion really isn't something that you see a lot of companies, especially in the B2B space, focusing on. And so would love, you know, sort of some initial reactions on what you thought about the exercise. And if I don't have any volunteers, I'll start picking on people. It's usually a pretty talkative group, but
well,
Laura, go ahead.
We do focus on emotions in our evaluations, and we depend on them and to give context around the ratings. And in fact, the ones that have the strong negative emotions reinforce the urgency for the drivers of what they're saying. It's not just the super angry folks, but we want to understand what the angry folks are saying, especially relative to the ones who are delighted. Why are they different? And so if you don't have that emotional construct there, you're not sure how they're feeling about the comments they're making. Although, anyway, we do get feedback about emotions in there, and it's a struggle for some of the business line leaders to say, why are we asking? But I think they've gotten over that for the most part.
And Laura, you got your hand raised.
Yeah, thank you. So I was going to say something very similar. When I was at GM, you know, that was one of the things that we brought in early, was looking at emotions across the journey, to the tune where we built an emotion model in Clarabridge/Qualtrics to really help our colleagues understand not just what was happening, but how customers were feeling about what was happening. Because a lot of times, you know, we were looking at volume of responses, but not necessarily what was behind it. So because something was raised to the top in terms of the number of responses, didn't always mean that that was what we should have tackled as an, you know, as an experience. So.
Yeah, it's great. Anybody else in terms of just initial feelings? So I'd love to pick on somebody from, yeah, Ed, go ahead. You're on mute.
So this was, I mean, I think for our group, it worked well. For me, it's very, very familiar because this is a practice that we do on a regular basis. So I was able to, you know, provide a couple of examples of what we're doing. I'm in Michigan and I work for Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan, the health insurance company. So it felt very relevant for us, for the example we spoke through.
You were in group 2, Ed?
Group 2, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think that resonates quite a bit, especially for me. My wife is a nurse case manager for Tufts Medical, so I get to hear the conversations that she's having with her patients in real time. So that's interesting. It's a great thing to point out. Would love to pick on. I know group 6. I think Susanna, you were in that group. would love to sort of hear how things went from a contractual renewal standpoint. This is always a fun conversation in the SaaS world.
Yeah, yeah. Do you want to step in, my colleagues there in Team 6, or?
Well, I always have a lot to say. So Tina, let me turn it to you first, and then I can riff on what you have to say if you want to talk. Uh-oh.
Sure. I think
Yeah.
we had a good I don't know why my camera's not turning on. We had a good conversation around kind of like what makes you feel secure when you're going to renew a contract, and like what types of behaviors you want to see like as sort of the internal customer for whether it's like a new software or a new service or just any kind of implementation where you've got like a whole big contract and a lot of dollars at play, and how do you kind of like measure success and also kind of develop that like optimism and accountability with like that partnership.
Yeah, and I work at the American Medical Association and leading our CX program. And one of the things we're doing right now is to build 2 new functions, a customer success and a customer marketing team that supports that for a learning platform. And we're trying to drive learner completions so that renewal is a no-brainer for the CEOs that buy the product or license the product for the institution. And so this is so important. We do look at brand sentiment, and we use emotion in our VOC, but I hadn't really thought of emotion framing this success journey in this exact way. So this was very, very helpful. One of the things that I would say is I see this part of the journey, the renewal decision, as like so downstream that all of the strategies ahead of it really have to think about what emotions you want that at that point, that renewal decision, and build that all into, front load that into the post-sales journey. But this was, I'm going to take this back and appreciate the new insights here, because it's a kind of a refresh look at how to use emotion here.
Yeah.
Make sure that our strategy is really going to deliver the emotion that we're seeking to achieve.
Yeah, it's really important. I mean, I actually just came back from Atlanta, where our headquarters is. We actually just did customer journey mapping using the infinite loop, as a matter of fact. And so we were focusing on onboard adoption and onboard adoption and value realization stages. And you're right, Gloria, being able to front load. I mean, when you get to that value realization stage, should have already built all of those emotions in, and now it's just all about delighting your customers at that point, and showing them all of the success that they've had with your product and the achievement of their outcomes, so that renewal really is just a no-brainer, right? It just there's no reason for them not to sign that next 2 or 3 year multi-year contract with you, because of all the success that you've had and created that optimistic and confidence and the loyalty that you've achieved with them throughout that journey.
Yeah, for anyone who wants to check it out, we are using but adapting slightly Forrester's post-sale customer experience model, customer success model to stand up those 2 functions. So it's really kind of a fun project, really.
Let me know if you need any help on the customer success marketing side. It's where I specialize. So
okay, yeah, we're just dipping our toe in there. Automation is the key, I guess.
100%. Make sure that you build that in there for sure. I don't think we've heard from anybody from Team 7, and they were on the purchasing side. So, do you have anybody from Team 7 who'd like to?
Yeah, this is Jeff Greer. I'm happy to talk through what we did if you want to navigate to our board. trying to get to confidence is also kind of tied to making somebody energetic and excited about using a thing or taking advantage of it. And we really found those emotion drivers to be things like, how to enjoy this, making sure that when somebody is purchasing, they know how to enjoy and how to get the most out of something. But that's also practical, right? And we know that friction comes when somebody acquires a thing and they don't know how to use it. My bias is always toward what happens after purchase and support and help. That's where I spend a lot of my time focusing. So if you're upfront with the right information during purchasing, making sure it's clear how to enjoy and how to use something, you can really unlock that confidence and make people feel energized and happy and proud that they've acquired a thing. Besides information, though, on the part of the brand, it really requires empathy, like really getting into the customer mindset and understanding, how are they going to design, or how are they going to use this thing you designed, and what problems might arise down the road. In addition, there's a need for coherence. People want to feel that there's a connected ecosystem of communications and experience from that first interaction during buying and awareness all the way through, use and considering, renewing a product, considering purchasing another of the same thing or whatever. But that experience and that consistency will make a huge difference. So what does your org need for this? Jose and I really honed in on a few things. Active listening to customers, having clear expectations during awareness and purchasing, making a glide path from one journey phase to another, making sure that people are really confident as they get closer to buying that they have the right information. After buying, making sure that they're really confident that they have the right information to use the thing. And then always on support and help, being there for your customers when they need it, no matter what. Making not just throwing them into an AI chatbot, but making sure they can get the real help they need in real time.
Jeff, not only all of that, which our group did purchase as well, but the brand communication is all that you said, perfect. In addition, to create a sense of community, which I think you use too, where you maybe bring how others of your community of those purchasers are using that product to show how others, maybe even enveloping a online community to have a shared experience with that product or service so that you don't feel so alone in that regard. So I think
I love that. I love that build, Rich. Thanks for calling that out. That's definitely a big part of always on ecosystems. And even if a brand isn't at the center of creating that community, for a lot of products, those communities exist anywhere. Go to Reddit and find out what they're talking about related to your brand. There's usually something there and people talking about it.
Meeting them where they're at is huge, right? Don't just go create a community on your own. To your point, right, Jeff? They're probably somewhere else, and if you can figure out how to leverage that without having to put in all the extra effort is huge. So thanks everybody. Susanna,
does Susanna want to interject anything before we go?
Yeah.
Well, just the pleasure to listen to all this feedback that for sure will enrich our own model and reflection on what's next. So thank you for your active participation and for the opportunity to be here today. It was great. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Thanks, Susanna.
Thank you.
And for those of you who are available on October 8th and 9th, please join us for what many people, not just myself, call the best conference in CX. Very practitioner driven, very comprehensive. I'm going to go ahead and drop the link to that in the chat. So if you've not been there, please join us. It's reasonable. We keep the registration costs very reasonable. I think our early bird price is either $375 for 2 days. So please take advantage of that. We'd love to see you. And next month, we're going to be joined by one of the faculty in the master's degree program, the MSCXM program. We're going to be joined by Mary Poppin, who is a professor of practice in our program and is also the president and CEO of Horizons. Mary is also the former chief customer officer of Glint. So she has an interest both in customer and employee intelligence as it relates to CX. But thanks again for joining us. Alistair, thanks for facilitating. And thank all of you for joining us. Look forward to seeing you next month.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a
Thank
great rest of
you.
your day.
Sure,
Bye-bye.
Thank
guys.
you. Bye.